Hey everyone, I'm Jason Edwards and welcome to another Cyber Talk developed by baremetalcyber.com. Today I'm excited to welcome Dean Charlton, Managing Director of DC Cybertech, a company known for delivering award-winning global GRC SAS solutions, pen testing services, and high-skill cyber talent. Dean has been at the front line of helping organizations modernize their governance, risk, and compliance capabilities with tools that scale far beyond spreadsheets. His presentation, Excel is not your GRC solution. Dean will dive into why relying on spreadsheets can hold back even the most well-intentioned security programs and how automated AI-driven platforms can support organizations of any size. Dean, thanks for joining us, and let's dive right in.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jason. Thanks for the intro. So quick introduction. So as mentioned, my name is Dean Charlton. So I run DC Cybertech, and we work and partner predominantly within the GRC field. So we're covering industries globally and across multiple different aspects. And I guess the reason for kind of the chat today and highlighting about Excel versus a GRC platform, it's really relevant. I'm sure many people listening will probably be sitting there now going, "Hey, well, we use Excel. You know, it's pretty free to a degree, and it works. And we've been using it for years. And we're a small scale startup. And we don't have the budget." And to be fair, we hear that all the time. And in fact, actually, a really good timing is I was at a Risk Europe yesterday. In fact, in London, a conference that were presenting, and they said, "Hey, look, who's using Excel here?" And at least 50% of the room put their hand up. And we're talking even enterprise level companies here to a degree. That, if not anything, should raise huge amount of alarm bells across the industry, because anyone involved in any form of compliance or governance would understand that Excel's great at putting detail in, but it doesn't update. You know, you have to go back into it. It's not linking. It's not using AI, and we love the AI definition term in everything we do these days in technology and cyber. So we've kind of developed a platform in partnership with a company called Risk Cognizance. And the reason why we've done that is just because we understand that you could be a one-man band. You could be just starting out into the field. You could be a global enterprise company. And all of a sudden, there's a new regulation came out. So within the US, we've got the whole thing's for HIPAA. We've got kind of NIS2. We've got SOX. We got so many regulation frameworks these days. You can't just say, "Hey, I'll just do it on my Excel and just tap a few words in here, and hey, hope for the best, and hey, Mr. Auditor, yeah, not a problem at all, we're compliant," because they're going to dive in and say, "How are you compliant? Evidence? Where's the proof? Where are you traction is? How are you governing it? How are you allocating tasks, processes? How are you monitoring that on a regular basis?" And I guess the real thing to kind of think about here is that GRC isn't a one and done. You don't just go, "Hey, I want to be HIPAA compliant. I'm going to do my HIPAA compliance framework. Done. Thank you." Nothing changes. You've got to dive in. You've got to keep going in. You've got to keep monitoring it. You've got to look at the updates, what the policies, the processes, who's involved, what's changing, because the world, the industry, businesses, people are changing such frequently, frequency wise, that you can't do that. It's humanly impossible to update a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, at that demand level with that level of accuracy. Some people will probably say, "Hey, well, I can do it." But that's probably the one or two people companies, right? So, but when you start to scale, you'll understand it's just not going to happen. And unless you're some whiz kid and your Excel skills are up there, and you probably should be working for Microsoft in that case, then then you need to look at solutions. You need to look for examples. And AI, as mentioned, it's there not to take over. It's there to complement. It's there to say, do you know what? If we can remove the manual task, if we can remove the monotony of updating, the changing, then why wouldn't you? That's what AI is there for and all to do. So go out, use it, look at the platform that best works for you as a business. And that's why we do, and that's where we focus globally, as mentioned, because it's every remit, every global country entity has its own form of regulations. So we were just recently working in the German automotive industry. So we've got R155 and 156 as a framework, very focused on German automotive. Nowhere else in the world. We work with businesses and entities out in the UAE and with Saudi Arabia. We have SAMA. So SAMA being kind of the governance ordinance around financial controls within that region. Again, not applicable. FedRAMP in the US. Again, SIMMMC. Exactly that. From government contracts. There's so many that you can mention. GDPR, ISO. It's endless. If you are a business that's thinking, okay, we want to scale, we want to grow, we want to be compliant, we want to mitigate our risk through investment that you might be looking for, scalability, you might be looking to a merger and acquisition, you might be thinking about new regulatory updates within your industry sector, you have to be compliant to. CMMC, you need it to get government contracts in the US. You don't have it, you're not open to government contracts anymore. So you've really kind of got to, really think about, right, how am I going to do that? What's going to aid me? Who's going to do that without spending 200, 300K on staffing? Hey, look, we do talent solutions. I'm never going to want to argue and say, hey, get yourself a vulnerability manager and a security engineer and you're happy. But we know, you can mitigate some of that cost when you start to scale out with an automated SaaS platform. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, did you have slides? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask.
No, I haven't got any kind of slides to show really, kind of just, but just to kind of talk through.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And have a look. I'd recommend, and I'm sure the links will be there to come to the website,
Yes.
DC Cybertech. Have a look at our blog posts. So we're blogging every day with outline, and we're really addressing some of those kind of areas, as well as talking to industry experts and highlighting to the general public as well, really, across all the LinkedIn platforms and other media platforms about why risk is important for everybody. Because you could be, I don't know, you could be an operations manager and say, hey, well, I don't really touch on that. It's not my area, but it does. And you'd be surprised the crossover. You could be a financial analyst. There's still crossover within your business.
So let me ask you a question real quick. So when you talk to a lot of companies, right, and I can see, I've been in GRC for a long time as well, and I've dealt with large GRC systems, right? And there's a lot of buy-in to get to the minimum of a large GRC system, right? It's not a small contract, right? Whether it's ServiceNow, Mini, Archer, whatever it happens to be, right? Is that why you think most smaller, medium enterprise companies just stay with Excel? Is because they see those numbers and they don't want to move into like a GRC solution?
Absolutely, and as mentioned, so I was at Risk Europe yesterday, all the big vendors there, as you would expect, right? So, and great, look, they do a great job, and obviously it's healthy competition in the market, but they are so large. I think you just touched like ServiceNow, for example. ServiceNow as an entity is massive. Now, if I'm a 10-man band and I'm looking to get ISO 27701 credited, I'm gonna be scared to approach them, right? Because cost is huge. They've got investors to satisfy, they've got other entities, and the platform does so much more. Then you've kind of got, well, I only need this little bit. I don't need these reports and this structure and this integrations because I don't have those. I have a very simple platform. That's why I'm going to use Excel. And I think that's, as you kind of mentioned, it scares people away. I think they say, well, if I go on Google or everyone these days, ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT, what can the offering is? What's the rough cost? And you get some nasty figures out there, and you kind of go, whew, well, I can't go to my boss with that figure. He's going to tell me no. So yeah, so we've created, and Risk Consultants have created that middle ground to say we're scalable with you, we grow with you, we are modular, so we only apply to the platform what you need, and we can customize it. It's not about the business, the platform being the brand here. It's about you as a business being compliant, you understanding how it operates, gives you back time. And I think that's a huge piece to play, is that anyone updating in Excel knows how long that takes. But if you've got a system that does it for you, does it in the background, hey, yeah, why wouldn't you? And obviously at a very low base cost. Yeah. So
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is people, even the numbers that you get, like, okay, Chat GPT numbers, like how much is Archer going to cost me? And again, I don't want to denigrate Archer or ServiceNow. They're great,
yeah,
they're great companies and stuff, but for very high end. But like, that doesn't include any of the other costs, right? It doesn't, just because you buy the software, it doesn't come out of the box most of the time ready for your company. You got to spend many, many developer hours and test hours and doing it. A great example is about, when I first left the military, say 2013, I was an insurance company and we had no Netmon software at all, none, right? So as a director of IT, I'm like, well, we got to get SolarWinds or something, right? Out of there. And back 12, 13 years ago, it was really only a couple choices. It was SolarWinds and whatever was, whatever was open source at the time, right? And so we got SolarWinds, and then we proceeded to spend 5 months, configuring it, right? Where we should have just, again, and because pro services was just as much as the software to get it set up, right? So it's not really just the cost of the software. It's a lot of that human capital cost that you're going to have, whether it's a developer, whether it's a human going, hey, that alert's not working for me, this alert's working for me, hey, we don't do it that way here, because every company, and you'll see another thing too, and I know I'm kind of rambling, but like a lot of companies too, so we had a product at another company called MetricStream, good product, but the company decided we're going to make minimal changes to it. We're just going to do the way MetricStream does it. I'm like, wait a minute, we're going to run GRC the way a software company runs GRC. That idea lasted like 6 months, and it was like, nope, we got to customize the crap out of it, right? So,
and think people need to realize that GRC, as with any kind of security or any kind of function or software function, it's layers, right? So you've got to build the layers, you've got to go through it, you've got to work through those different aspects. And we say the same thing with the GRC software with risk cognizance, is that you build the underlying foundation of, first of all, what are you looking to do? Because there's some companies out there that have got a spreadsheet that are probably really compliant. They've got some great policies, they've got some great processes, but they just need to consolidate it a little bit more. You go, brilliant. Okay, well, let's start at the base level. So let's reassess that. Let's get it confirmed. Let's get the details, and then we just build it. Oh, okay. You want to do a vulnerability scan, attack surface, or dark web monitoring within your domains? Okay, let's add that as we go through. Oh, you want to check your cloud infrastructure? Well, we'll do that at the right time. And there's none of that kind of like, no, you've got to do it all now, and you've got to throw it all in the pot, and as you said, and then spend 5 months going, I've got this information, and I thought I was really compliant, and now I'm not, and my boss is on the phone, and we've got an investment round coming up, and we're not compliant, and it happens, right? So we're human, businesses grow, things happen all the time, people move on. And we've seen that as well. You could get a company where you've got a GRC manager who manages it perfectly, does really well, been in the business a long time, and brilliant. And then they retire, or they move on, and they go to a competitor. And all of a sudden they go, hey, wasn't that person in charge of that? Like, where is that information? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Oh, we don't have access, or we can't see it, or he's linked it, and I don't know how he's linked it. And these things happen as well a lot. Whereas you have a multi-access platform, and everyone's got those kind of integrations where they can add to it, and you can allocate the right information to the right person. Then all of a sudden, you don't get that. One person leaves, okay, a minor setback, but actually we know where we're at in that process. We're using the tool in order to automate that process through. And I think that's probably key, is that things are always changing. And I would always say to people, like, if you've got one thing that you kind of walk away from this kind of podcast about and information, it's just that things always change, people change, processes change, policies change, governance controls change, right? So you could be great now, but 2 months down the line you could fall behind and you could be at the bottom of the pile again. So you need to be adaptable, you need to understand that. And we're not all blessed with having 4, 5, 6 different cyber credentials, that cost $10,000 a pop, and be in there and go, oh yeah, we can do that, because businesses don't. Everything like that costs. You invest in the thing at the right time, within the right investment. So yeah, so you kind of keep that in play, really. And it's a frustration, I guess, is that I've come into GRC after years within more of the security engineering background, and I was shocked that Excel is the number one platform that GRC is used for and we're talking, global banks. We're not talking your mum and pop shops here. You're sitting there thinking, really? Like, when was this allowed? Who said, yeah, that's fine, don't worry about that, yeah, stick it on an Excel, like save it in a deepest, darkest part of the library there somewhere, it's fine, we'll come back to it. Yeah, well, there's a policy here, it says 1998, yeah, don't worry about that, yeah. And you see it more and more often, but I think the world is changing. I think people are waking up and realizing. So
Well, you mentioned 98, which is a good year, by the way, because that was the second year I ever developed Excel applications, like back in the day when you're like, what's VB script? I'm going to learn this. You know what I mean? So, and,
brilliant.
and the other thing too is it's like I like to call like software archaeology, because like things get layered upon layered upon layered, and you don't even know why it was done that way, but it was done that way. And so like, well, there's a great Saturday Night Live skit very, very long time ago, shows how old I am, but it was talking about these protesters were protesting double-hulled oil tankers because there was going to be no more leaks. And the guy's like, well, what do you do for a living? He's like, I'm an otter scrubber. I scrub otters to get the oil off. He's like, my daddy was an otter scrubber. My granddaddy was an otter scrubber. We just can't let this happen. But you get that attitude sometimes in companies with software. You're like, I've done it this way. That guy did it this way. We're going to do it that way. Because if not, I have to call this other company to come in, and there's going to be a wizard charging me $300 an hour to make a change on a form. Right. You know what I mean? And so they gravitate to things like Excel because they can pick up a dummies book and do it. Right. So.
Yeah, and and the story, a great example. Yes, so last week, Task Manager in Windows was 30 years old, right? So, and it was built, and a lot of people kind of go, don't think about it, and it's in the background.
I didn't.
And the guy that built it. There's a great video on YouTube. Gonna have a look, and he talks about all the little nuances and bits that he put in the script that are still there in the background, where he's just like, well, no one ever changed it, so why was I going to do it? And it's just like. And he talks about how it developed, and that's no different to any other software platform. And then, but that's linear, right? So that is, hey, it's a service platform, it's Windows, brilliant, fantastic. Now put on governance controls, now put on insurance details, cyber hacking, real world global disasters, risk and mitigation, investor controls. Put that all together, and all of a sudden you kind of go, wow, this is really overwhelming very quickly. Does Excel do it? In all honesty, I don't think it does. I don't think it can. It can give you a very nice summary. It can give you a very straightforward breakdown. As you said, someone can pick up a book, Excel for Dummies, and you can learn it within probably a week, not even that, from scratch. Doesn't mean that you're going to be compliant. Doesn't mean it's going to update. Doesn't mean that it's relevant within 2 months down the line. So you've got to take all these kind of mitigating factors into play as well.
And businesses change, right? It's not us that determines it. Sometimes it's the business that determines it. Like cyber, we'd love to have things normal and straight every day. Like, in a lot of ways, we're like network administrators. Like, okay, no change, everything should be running fine. You know what I mean? But like the business doesn't work on that. Every small company wants one thing. They want to be a big company, and they want to change, and they want to, grow, and they want to add stuff to it. And you can't be stuck with something that's 10 years old, right?
Yeah. And, and I talk with pen testers almost daily, right? And it's the old adage that you can think that you're up to date and you do all these accreditations, everything. But the hackers are the people that don't have to do certifications. They're, these are kids that are gaming, right? They're playing Warhammer, right? They're learning strategy. They're going, hey, hang on a minute, I can do this with Bitcoin, and I can get in here, and no one's going to stop me. No one's stopping me now. And they keep progressing, and then all of a sudden, before we know it, something's come out in the industry. Well, we weren't, as security professionals, we weren't even aware of it because they found a loophole, and then we need to then fix it. We need to then create governance around that. So there's new governance controls, and it won't be long until goodness knows what other ones are coming through. But in the next 5 years, I reckon there'll probably be another 5 to 10 governance controls as standard globally. That we'll see kind of companies working towards, stuff that we probably aren't even aware of now. We've got huge emergence within AI. We've got quantum computing come up in the background, right? So that changes the game 101 back to 0. So if we're at 1.1, we're back to 0.0 when quantum comes into play. So we've got to really take all those considerations into play. And if we're not doing it now, we're not keeping up to date now, we're going to be even further behind in a couple of years' time, to a point where Someone says, "Hey, what governance controls have you got in place?" "Oh, we've got this brilliant spreadsheet." Yeah, that's like 5 years out of date. Is it? Oh, great. Yeah. Alarm bells. So
Well, and it also depends on the speed of the regulatory regime, right? And this is what people forget all the
yeah,
time. It runs at different paces around the world. The EU has a much shorter time to idea to law, right? That
yeah,
time frame it takes for someone in the EU to come up with an idea to become a law is very short compared to something like the US federal government, which, as we can see, if we're even working instead of shut down, it may take us, years sometimes to get. We like, for example, the United States still does not have a privacy law. We
mm,
do not,
mm,
not compared to the EU. The GDPR has been around for, over a decade, and we don't have one. So what happens? All 50 states do it, and their time to idea to law is very much shorter, right?
yep,
And so you look around the world, and when you're a global company and you start to work around the world, it's not just 50 US states. You got territories in Canada, you got the different parts of England, right? You got the EU, and each member has its own laws in some cases, right? It's never a static environment every time you go
no,
someplace, and the business doesn't understand that. They're and
mm,
again, they're not really supposed to. The business is supposed to do one thing. Say, if I'm a shoemaker, you want the business to know how to make shoes. You want them to be successful at making shoes. All this other stuff like cyber GRC and cyber laws, they just expect you to do it, right?
yeah, exactly. And and now think of like a business that's growing and they've got to a size where they've not really thought about cyber before. And we work with a couple of those businesses, right, where they kind of go, well, we're at a point now where we need to start thinking about cyber controls because we don't have any. And you do a bit of a scope and a bit of gap analysis. Hey, what have you got in place already? Well, we've got a CTO, but he has no idea. We've got this person that we kind of bring in ad hoc. They've kind of given us a few ideas, and you kind of go, okay, right. Well, we're now scaling to a point we need that. We need that in play, and then all of a sudden, these money figures come out, and everyone starts panicking, like, oh, but we can't afford that now. Can we scale? Where does the business move on from there? How do we need to be compliant? I think you touched a great point on European markets and regulatory controls and how the government operates. But look at cloud integration. So US, I would say probably ahead of the game, right? With cloud, you'd be surprised how many European entities are still on-prem, no cloud whatsoever. They're not that they're reluctant to it, but it's still very much moving at a very slow pace. Um, in the UK, we've got a huge banking industry, right? So one kind of it's what we're known for. But look at what the banks are using. Look at what the systems they're using. We're in the dark ages. Crikey, someone's, oh yeah, what's that machine over there in the corner? Oh, it's an AS400 IBM machine. Don't touch it because it's the backbone of the bank. And you're like, is that a green screen? It's like I bet there's people here that have never seen this. It's just like they don't even understand what it is. And I think that's what you've got to kind of remember as well is that we think that people are on the cutting edge. We think that industries are growing with the latest technologies and the latest integrations, but they're not. No, we're still, as a world, we're still very basic. Technology is still very much in its infancy, even after these many years. So I think everyone needs to kind of go, right, okay, stop, assess, understand, where am I going? Where am I headed? What do I need to do? And how do I need to be compliant to that? And to bring something on board in order to assist and support me in that journey, and work with me in plain English, as opposed to the jargon and the acronyms and everything that we love in the cyber industry. So
Yeah, otherwise you're just a cost center, right? And you're adding
yeah,
cost, you're not
yeah,
adding value. And that's
yeah,
the thing that the business can't stand because, they can go out and buy another shoe salesman, right?
yep,
Or they can pay for a GRC system. One of those two is not making them money, right?
yeah, yeah,
So it's always important to be a good shepherd. And you'll see some departments that are just stuck with old tools because they can't make that case.
yeah. It's the classic, isn't it? A business gets hacked. Beforehand, the CISOs, I need money for this. I need budget. I need budget. And they go, no, 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 no. They get hacked. How much do you need? Woof, woof, woof. All the
Oh,
money gets piled
Equifax.
in. Yeah, yeah,
Equifax,
yeah,
great example of how like they had
yeah,
no money before it happened, and afterwards they were just backing up Brinks trucks. You know what I mean?
yeah.
To make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we look at industries now. So, well, we've got a lot of food manufacturers. The UK has been particularly hit hard in the retail sectors and FMCG side, and everyone's getting attacked. Like literally, it's like one and one and one and one. Now, if I was a betting man, I'd say, okay, let's have a look at your cybersecurity budget. Okay, yeah, Interesting. Didn't take it seriously then, but you're taking it seriously now. And yeah, and you see that, as you said, classic example. Look at the airline industry. It's another industry that's getting hit hard globally. Think of what that costs an airline to be down for a day. It's just insane. And you can say, hey, well, look, spend 1/10 of that on controls and mitigate most of it. Can't 100% mitigate it, but you're probably close to, because the hackers are going to go, I'll go elsewhere. They're a bit harder target. Save yourself money, but it's the mindset of people thinking about that, isn't it? I guess
No, absolutely.
that's a whole different story.
No, it's correct. Yeah, it's right. So tell me more about your solution then, Dean.
Yeah, so as I say, so DC Cybertech, we're as a services company, so offering there, but we partner in particular on the GRC side with risk cognizance. So the reason why we do that, it's headed up by a guy called Jeffrey Walker, a good friend of mine for many, many years out in New York. So CISO, 23, 24 years as a CISO. He's been in the industry. He knows it. He knows it very well. Built on the frustrations of he's using other platforms. Of course, he's used other platforms. But he's never really seeing what works for a business. It's always from their side, how they pull more money out from you from different entities, that kind of breakdown to customizable solutions. So he said, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to build a GRC solution simplified. We're going to keep it really basic, really, to the point. What does it need to do? How can you do it? How can you create that flow? Use as much AI automation that's reasonable. And when we say reasonable, to a point that we're not using AI to do the tasks that someone should be doing, because everyone needs to double check. You can't just go, hey, AI, run this, done. Thank you very much. Hey, I'm GRC compliant. But use it for the kind of the manual, monotonous tasks. So one of the processes is that we use it as an AI function to pull your policies into relevant controls. Now, that's an AI function, right? We shouldn't need to do that as a human person. And that is a weekly, monthly, if not a yearly task in a large company, right? I've got a policy one. I've got a list of 400 controls. Which one does it align to? Do. Policy number 2. Do. Right. So we use AI automation in order to do that. Removes all that manual task. You can check it. And I would always say to people, always double check it. It's 99.9% accurate. There's always the 0.1% because it's a machine, and to go through. And then you say, well, okay, well, I'm missing 4 policies. I need to create those. I'm sure, and to be fair, Jason, out there, and someone maybe even saying this right now, hey, I love creating policies. But that's a very, very small percentage of people in this world that would ever dare say that. Because let's be honest, it's one of those ones where you go, whoo, I've got to create 4 policies. I've got to get the template, and I've got to do it, and I've got to check the control, and I've got to make sure. And then, wow, that just, it's boring, let alone anything else. So the platform will create the AI policy based on the control, based on the details. You can edit, you can add to it, you can amend it. And the best bit is, what use is a policy if you then don't share it with the business? So how many companies go, we've got great policy controls, brilliant. But if I went to Sandra in the ops team and asked her, she doesn't know where they are, she doesn't know what they are, doesn't know what they do. So, okay, that's quite alarming. So what the platform we can do is make sure it's relevant, it's highlighted to the relevant people, that the information, camera just come on, sorry, that the information is sent out to the relevant area, and then it's stored in the relevant area as well. Because anybody that says, well, okay, I need to check on my policies, they've got to be up to date, they've got to be relevant, they've got to have visibility, and they've got to be available to the right people at the right time. So our platform enables in order to do that. Yeah. So it's going to put it in the right place. It's going to highlight it to the right people. It's going to allocate that. It's going to update that. It's going to be relevant. It's going to show you the most up-to-date version of it. Minus audit controls, minus investment, minus whatever it might be. That's what you want, right? That's the purpose of policies and the control. So the platform is doing that as a basis. It's then creating the assessment. It's giving you enablement in order to go through that assessment, or run what we call a program to check and sense check that information, to look at where your risk sits. Where in the business do I need to focus? What am I perhaps over-excelling in, but under-excelling in at the same time? And then that's been before we even start looking at third-party risk management. So look at most of the controls out there now, and I think it's probably going to be more and more relevant in new controls that come into place. Third-party risk management is huge. So you could be brilliant. Yeah, hey, my company XYZ is brilliant. I've got great policy controls. I've got people in the team that do it. That's interesting that you use this particular software vendor. Yeah. So are they compliant? Yeah, I think so. Well, how
They
do you
said
know
they
that?
are. They said
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are.
exactly. Yeah. They've gone. Yeah. They did. We did a third party risk assessment. When was that? 3 years ago. Right. And they haven't changed in 3 years. Oh yeah, no, I'm pretty sure they have. Right. Like, and all of a sudden you start going, yeah, okay. Like there's a few alarm bells coming out here. Hey, and I'm not an auditor, and there may be some auditors listening that will go, I'm going to zero in straight on that because I know that's a risk area that businesses forget about. Hey, you want to be compliant to standards? You're not compliant. And then when you start looking at government contracts, yeah, you start, hey, I want to work with the DoD and DOJ, right, in the US. I need to be TMC compliant. I need to be at level 2. There's a lot of work here. Oh, hang on a minute, I'm not. Oh, I've never investigated. Oh, I've never looked at that. I didn't even know that control existed. Well, okay, there's a lot of alarm bells. And this is, we're speaking way before the auditors are coming in checking. So we're talking the preparation, we're talking the work, the putting in the effort in order to kind of get to that piece. And this is where risk cognizance utilizes all of its background and its being and its understanding and its AI topics and its automation processes to make your life or anyone's life within that business as easy as possible. Because we want to ensure that every business is compliant, whether you're a 1 person or a 10,000 or 100,000 person company. We want to ensure that if you want investment, that if you are getting involved in a merger and acquisition, if you're going for a compliance framework, that you've got the confidence to know that. And there's with risk cognizance, it's going to tell you, it's going to let you know, it's going to update you in real time to say, hey, you're nearly there. Hey, you're now green. Yeah, you're in the green. Fantastic. Brilliant. You've got a few things to work on. These are the things to work on. You can allocate that to your users. Brilliant. Have they done it? Oh, it tells me they haven't done it yet. So you've now got a project plan built into the platform as well. So when everyone's kind of sitting there going, oh, I don't know, and I've got a spreadsheet and I've got an email for that, and I'm pretty sure I asked Jeff to kind of sort that out, and Jason didn't look at that, and I'm pretty sure he's on holiday this week. Brilliant, but an auditor is not going to be particularly impressed, or anyone investing within the business as well. So, but if you turn around and say, hey, yeah, compliance, not a problem. Here you go. And they go, oh, what do I have to look at? Just there. One login. Okay, where's the information? Right there. Where's the documents? Attached to each one. Brilliant. Well, what have you done about it? Here's the audit log. Have you updated your risk register? Yep, here's the latest one. Well, how do I know what you're doing? Here's my project plan. But when are you getting that done? These are my timeframes. And all of a sudden, it doesn't take a genius to say, when you're a business and you've got that level of, I guess, kind of confidence, and that you're putting it out there, people, auditors, investors, whatever it might be, are going to go, okay, these people know what they're doing. They've got it ticked. They've got everything signed and sealed. They're not the panickers, the worriers that it's here, it's over there, it's back and forth, dive and delve. And I'm sure that's happened, in other businesses where they'll go, hey, I'm fully compliant. An auditor comes in and goes, brilliant. So let's have a look. Oh, what's this? And they go, oh, no, ignore that. Don't look at that. Well, why is it here? And they start, kind of diving in,
Picking it apart.
opening the doors they shouldn't open. Yeah, exactly. So, and risk cognizance, we have an audit platform built into the system. So you give the auditor the direct line, the blinkered view as such, to the point of, this is what you need, and this is what you can see. And when the audit is finished, you say, thank you very much. I'm going to take away your access. Because then is there none of the, oh, hang on a minute, I just need to go in and double check this. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, what have I found here? Hey, but you said we were compliant, but now we're not. What's going on? So you don't get any of that. So we kind of remove that from that basis as well.
Well, and the thing is, a lot of people, and they don't get this, especially if you look at a junior leader, they think the audit issue is the issue, right? Look, auditors are always going to find something. You want them to find things, right? They don't ever be upset because an auditor found something. Like, that's like a pen test. Don't be upset about pen test findings because they're great, right? That you want, I would always be more worried about an audit or a pen test when they didn't find anything. I would think they didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Like I would never trust that ever again, right? And regulators are the same way, but that's not the problem. People always, oh my God, we got an issue. The OCC came down and gave us an MRA, or something else happened over here. We got an observation from someone, the people doing DORA now or whatever, right? That's not the issue. The issue is the fact that what did you do after that, right? Because that's usually what gets you in trouble. They're never going to come in and go, I'm going to shut your business down because you don't have good IAM controls around MFA. That doesn't happen. Right? Unless you just literally have none and people are walking out the door for money. But like, they don't shut your business down because of the issue. What they do, what you get in trouble for is when they come back 3 months later and they ask you for the update and they go, where are you on fixing this problem? Or you said it was only going to take 6 months. I'm here at month 7 and I don't even see what you've accomplished, right? How does the solution you work with, fix those things?
Yeah, and great question, and a real life, scenario, right? Because that happens all the time. That it's, as you said, you should never fear the auditor. You should never fear, even if, an internal audit as well, right? So, because they're there to find the information so you can address it, and that happens across all regulatory boards, right? So once you've got that and you've kind of gone, okay, the auditor, the internal auditor, the assessor, whoever it might be inside within the business, comes up with these things. The platform enables you with all those issues that have been addressed, be it self-found, found through the system scanning through AI, or through post-audit perspective. Those points become a plan of action. Yeah? And a plan of action then is great if you can only track it. And you can say, well, I'll email this person. But say, for example, you've got 15 points, 15 emails, 15 different contacts. And then you're onto something new and a new project and you're still catching up with that. That's a lot of workload, right? And we are human, we do forget. But now with risk cognizance, you can allocate the task to an individual, give them an allotted time frame, allocate hours. You can even allocate a budget that shows within that report as well. Then within the plan of action milestone report, you've got who's doing what, when are they doing it, and at what action point. Because it's great when we say to people, hey, Jason, I really need you to build out 2 new policies for the latest FedRAMP 2 controls. I noticed we're missing them. Can you get that done this week? You go, yeah, not a problem, sir. Let me get it underway. And then people forget about it and it doesn't happen, or you don't write it down or whatever it might be, or we delete the email, right? Whereas in the risk cognizance platform, it sits there. It shows as a task. It shows I've allocated Jason. This is when I allocated it. This is when it needs to be completed. Now, me as an admin, I can go in and go, oh, I've got an outstanding here. Jason hasn't done this. It's now flagged. Hey, Jason, yeah, I noticed that we've got this outstanding task that you haven't done with the new policies. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Right, well, we're now urgent. We need to get it sorted, right? Boom, I'm going to resend it to you. Here's the link so you can't get lost. It's going to take you directly to that. Okay, brilliant. It's also going to say when the person says, oh, yeah, I'm working on that. Well, that's interesting because it tells me here you've never looked at it. You haven't even opened the link because it's a URL link, right? So it's going to take you straight into the platform. Oh, no, I've looked at it. Well, you can't have. So, so you can tell me all you want that you've looked at it, but it didn't happen. So how about you look at it and you get it done? So, and this isn't about catching people out. It's about saying, here's, if I'm a project manager or if I'm a program manager or business analyst, whoever's, or even a CISO, a vCISO utilizes our platform a lot. I want to know where I'm at. I want to know where my tasks allocated are, where they're at, how long it's going to be, and do I need to chase people up? I don't want to chase people up who are doing the work, and I can see that in the platform. I don't want to chase people up that are off, or I've over allocated, because you can allocate 1,000 tasks to an individual. I can see that now in my kind of plan action milestone report. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. So I can now share the workload. I can allocate it to the right people. I can understand when they're doing it, who's doing it, what they're doing, et cetera, et cetera. So the platform itself is built around assessment, program completion, or program completion within that process, and then the next stage, the audit, the post, the checkup, the actions, the plans, the new whatever it might be. Let's build a new business continuity plan. Let's build a new resilience plan. Let's create new policies and functions. Do we need to hire people? Do we need to bring on new vendors? Do we need to check our current vendors and get rid of them? Because they're causing the risk. And that's where the platform kind of all comes into one hub, rather than kind of one here, one there, one there. And I've worked with some fantastic vendors out there and some software that is brilliant in what it does. And it does one thing, and it does one thing very well. But when I'm pulling that data in, it's another outside application. It's another one. So Risk Cognizance will connect, so it has full API integration. It's going to pull those data together into one area. And how easy is it as anyone within any industry, within any business, in a form of admin kind of control, to have it in one place? One review, one place, one visual report. Thank you very much. Let's make our lives easier. Why are we making it harder for ourselves?
Well, and let me ask you a question here too, because sometimes, and this is the old like my daughters always ask me, they're like, "Dad, how did you do that?" I'm like, "Well, it's on my phone. It's a tool. You go here, you do this, you do this, you do this." I was like, it's more than just TikTok, right? The phone's amazing. You can do a bunch of stuff on there, but you have to know, right? And what I've seen a lot of times, and I'd like to tell you, I'd ask you, like, how do you guys overcome this, right? I have the greatest tool on the planet, but I don't know how to use it. I only know how to use 5 things, and therefore I'm never going to get the value out of this product, right? So how do you guys overcome that?
So we do several things. So we always say demo before anything. Let's take you through the platform. I think that's pretty standard, right? From the demo, we then go, we're going to give you a 7-day, 3 proof of concept trial. We're going to give you the whole platform. You're going to play with it. You're going to get in there, click on everything. You go, brilliant, but I don't know how to use it. Like, brilliant that you've given me a platform, but what do I do? So we several fold. So the one thing, we coach and guide you through it. So we offer full 24/7 support in order to do that. We can do that because we've got agents across the world, so we can cover any time frame, any day. The second part is we've got an academy, a training academy in the platform. So it takes you through the process. Okay, where to start? And it's literally, you're in the platform doing it. So it's a training platform in the platform. So you can say, okay, I'll go through the training academy internally, work through the process. Okay, now I understand how it works, how it operates. But people are different learners. So now we kind of go, okay, well, I just want to get used to it and just do it, but I don't know how to get to there. We then have a training folder, and in there we've got how-to guides, but we've got YouTube videos, right? So kinesthetic learning, people learn in different ways. People love to read, people love to see a video, people love to be told, people love to just play with it and pick it apart. So we've got all of those options available. So anyone that we get to, and during that POC, we say, this is your chance to just completely play with it. You can't go wrong. You can't make mistakes. You can't break the law. It's just, it's in-house. Boom. Thank you very much. Oh, actually, that's quite interesting. Oh, how does that work? How does that work? And we always say to people, we've got an internal ticket system. Raise a ticket. It's part of the standard program within the platform itself. We also say, just email us, just phone us. I've got clients now that will ring me. I had a client in Cambodia, and I'd wake up 4 a.m. with a list of like, how do I do it? Brilliant. I'd rather that than not ask. And we just cover it off. We go, okay, bam. Here's a how-to guide. Here's a there. Let's jump on a call. Let's talk through it. Because as you said, a platform can be brilliant, but if you don't know how to use it, it's not really a platform, is it? And I'm sure we've all been on calls with the customer success teams that go, oh yeah, brilliant, and they've got their own little agenda and their own little script, and they go running through it at 100 miles per hour, and you kind of go, well, wait a minute, what? Like what you said 20 minutes ago, I've completely just literally popped out of my brain. I have no idea. So we take it through on that kind of process, and we support and we guide. Onboarding for us is 2 weeks. And that, we don't need 2 weeks, but we onboard, we support, we hold hands, we kind of say, well, let's go through it, let's have a check-in, how are we doing? And because we've got that helicopter view, we can see what people are utilizing and using. So, oh yeah, I see you haven't gone into multiple assessments, or I see you haven't looked at perhaps the vulnerability scanning part. Are you comfortable with that? Do you need support? We'll jump on a call, we'll do a demo on that part as well. So we're always offering support, and we don't charge for that. You could say, I want 100 demos over 12 months. Yeah, I don't know, I've got a problem with that. I'm an MSP and I'm bringing on new clients, but I need a bit of technical support. No problem. Bring us in. We're happy to do that. We're there to kind of offer that kind of all parts. So we are by no means sell it, move on. We are coach, guide you through it as if we're working with you, as opposed to being an external provider. So, and that's part, DC Cybertech as well as Risk Cognizance, where we're offering that kind of service overview. because people then say, oh, okay, brilliant, I'm using the platform, risk consult's great, I'm on the compliant, I probably need to build out a team, we can support with that. I probably need to do some pen testing, we can support with that as well. And then we can just kind of get on there, or we can advise, hey, I'm looking to bring people on, can you give me a bit of an idea what that's going to cost? Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, so we kind of build that into the platform and support structure as well.
Awesome. Okay, so what else? Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up today? Because this has been fantastic, and obviously, I wrote a book on GRC, so it's kind of like feeling I'm a GRC nerd. So I love GRC. Yeah,
I would say anybody listening and anybody that is growing and you're using Excel, I want you to really, really look inside and say, am I actually compliant? Is it doing it what I need it to do? And if you're not, give us a shout. Yeah, we're not about pushy sales. We are by no means pushy salespeople at all. Really not. We are about, okay, what are you looking for? And we can give you an idea of cost. Yeah. And I can hand on heart probably say we'll be at least a quarter of the price is pretty much anyone on the market. And we do it because we're not to come to investors. Yeah, we're not lining the investors' pockets. We build it ourselves. We're not reliant on third parties. Therefore, we can keep those costs low, and we're going to pass it over to you, right, as a business. So anybody who wants to have a chat, even if you just want a bit of a scope and a bit of an idea, feel free, give us a shout, not a problem at all.
Well, and hopefully we've been answering some questions during the talk as well in the chat. And all of Dean's contact information is linked in. The company information will all be attached to the article as well when it comes out. And Dean, I appreciate you coming in today, and thank you. And again, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Jason, yeah, always a pleasure. I appreciate your time, and yeah, thanks for the invite.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks, Dean. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem. So, hey, thanks for joining us and the talk with Dean today. It's been fantastic. Again, I am a GRC nerd and I love talking to people about GRC, but it is an incredibly important fundamental aspect of your business. And if you don't know what a GRC is, or you haven't thought about a GRC, then that's the next step you need to take if you want to become bigger, if you want to become better, if you want to become faster, if you want to eliminate a lot of those audit headaches or regulatory headaches that you run through. Because if you don't know about regulations or compliance or controls in advance, you're just setting yourself up to fail, right? So again, reach out to Dean and the company to talk about more about that. Also, if you like this conversation, if you enjoyed it, please, and you're a company or you're a person who would like to present on any topic, we're taking proposals now. So just come over to baremetalcyber.com, click on the Society of Cyber Professionals, and at the bottom, fill out the form, or just contact me on LinkedIn if you want to set up a time to do this. Also, we have a group, if you'd like to connect with it, the Society of Cyber Pros. And you can request to join. We only accept cyber people. So again, it's a knit community, close-knit community where it's not just one of those big open groups on LinkedIn where you have 100,000 people and 99,000 of them are not, cybersecurity. So again, Jason Edwards, thanks for coming in today. And if you want to find out more, go to baremetalcyber.com. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks, everyone.